Hi, everyone. While we're getting the clicker, maybe I can tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. So I've been studying Gen Z for almost 3 years now, and there's a lot of differences between the Gen Z and the millennial generation, and I'll tell you about that. And I'll tell you about a new trend that's coming up, very new and fresh. It's called social payments. And while we're getting the clicker, perhaps I can have a raise of hands because I didn't see the answer. How many of you guys here are Gen Z? How many of you are millennials? Yay, guys! Okay. Awesome, thank you. All right, let me introduce myself a little bit. I've been 8 years in tech and product. Essentially, I lead groups of engineers, designers, and we decide what we're going to be building next. I worked at a company like Booking.com, Bumble, Naven, which you might not have heard about because it's more on the business side. And now I have a company called Chino, which I'll tell you just a little bit about it at the end of the presentation. So let's start with the 4 differences, at least I've noticed, when I studied Gen Z and millennials. And let's see if this is the ones that you also maybe have noticed throughout your life. The first one is search. The way we millennials search is fundamentally different from how Gen Z search. We had a very linear approach, right? We started with Google. Maybe we went on Reddit to get some reviews or some kind of like commentary or any other site like Trustpilot. And then once we wanted to buy something, then we would, go on the e-commerce site that we wanted to, that we liked, and just bought it. However, for Gen Z, this is not how they start search or how they start discovery. It's completely different. They started on social media, right? Which I think most of you have known, or is this a new news for you guys? Raise your hand if it's new news. Okay, then I'm saying something useful tonight. Okay, great. So actually, Google is shitting their pants right now because the way that they make money is through search, right, and ads. But if the young generation doesn't go on Google to search, then they're losing revenue, right? And this is not only touching search, it's also touching Google Maps. Because fun fact, we millennials, when we were young, we actually had the physical map. We would know how to navigate in the car, help our mom or dad drive to the destination. But Gen Z never had that. But Google Maps is literally built as a digital form of that physical map, right? So imagine if Gen Z didn't know about Google Maps and started their own app right now, it would look fundamentally different. And Google right now has been experimenting for the past 2 years trying to make Google Maps a more scrollable, entertaining experience, and they're not succeeding yet. So this is how, so I told you millennials are more like fundamentally linear in the way we search and buy things. Gen Z are a zigzag curly thing over here, like this. Because Gen Z like to be entertained. So they want to make shopping, discovery, and entertainment completely blended together in one experience. Here I'm showing a Chinese app because a lot of my founder friends, they always like to look at US for innovation. I look at China for innovation because they're 20 years ahead. So this is probably even an old screenshot, but compared to TikTok, which I think most of you have had experience playing around with, it's similar, right? There's live streams, there's commentary, but what's different is the ability for you to actually immediately click on whatever item they're showcasing in the live stream. You can see all the product details without exiting the app. You can even scroll like similar other brands, other clothes, thank you, that they have, all without leaving the app, and you can make a quick purchase. And this is gonna come to Europe, don't worry, maybe in 5 years, let's hope soon, but this is what the future for you guys says. The second trend, or the difference, between Gen Z and millennials is trust, the way we build trust, right? Millennials are really linear, we go on Google, we read blogs, Trustpilot. We know it's not 100% accurate, but this is sort of like our standard of where we, trust the products and things that we buy. However, Gen Z is very different. They think Google is exceptionally biased and all the websites are optimized for SEO, so why should I trust it? And they actually go on social media to get an unbiased and fresh opinion. And how they do that is, first of all, live streams, right? Of course, live streams are amazing because you can actually see how people play around with the product. You can see the reactions of other people, which is very important. There's this community feeling of like, okay, if everyone is also as excited as I am, there must be something going on here. And if it's not live stream, it's a comment section. Gen Z can drown in the comment section and literally reads every single comment that was left on the video. And that's how they form an opinion of whether they trust a brand or want to buy a product. I want to give an example of Albania. I'm not sure how many of you guys know, but they increased by 33% their tourism this summer, which it's equivalent to 3.4 million people visiting them just because of TikTok community. They said, hey guys, are you tired of Greece, which is becoming overly crowded and overexpensive? There's as beautiful place called Albania, and it's cheap. Let's go there. And 3.4 million went. So just to talk to you about how Gen Z create trust through TikTok. And when we talk about payments, right, trust is also really important here, because in a survey it was said that 77% of Gen Z would leave a business if they don't have their form of payment present at checkout. And any one of you knows what's the favorite form of payment for Gen Z? It's buy now and pay later. So compared to millennials, right, we're a little bit more credit cards, comfortable focused, Gen Z actually think that credit cards are really bad financial decisions for them to make. Although in your heads you might be, but credit cards and buy now, pay later is kind of like the same thing. For Gen Z, it's not. Gen Z choose buy now, pay later for different reasons, depending on the geography that you live at. But mostly they think this is a great thing that I do for myself and for my financial well-being. And so if at checkout you don't have the buy now, pay later, they don't care. They will go to another merchant and they will buy there if they have buy now, pay later. So it's very important for any of you who are going to be building businesses. And that's the third one, difference between Gen Z and millennial, is how they preview the environment. Right? I think we all care about climate change and the way our environment is going to be impacted by the decisions we're making. But millennials have this sort of notion that, we have time. Like, it is getting bad, but we have time to save and, reverse the things. Gen Z, they put a lot more effort in educating themselves. They read a lot more scientific papers than millennials have, and they kind of live in this certain doom that shit will go to hell in a couple of years from now in their generation, and they will have to deal with it. And that has a lot of implication on their buying behavior and just in general how they decide to live their lives. So I asked ChatGPT to create an image to represent this. I was saying, can you please put on the left side the millennials who are a little bit, in the la-la land, that's not that imminent, the issues we're going to have with climate change, and on the right side, the Gen Z who's like more confident about that. But I wasn't really happy neither with the representation of the Gen Z, how he was dressed, neither the side of the millennials. So this was our second iteration. Here I kind of thought it was a bit weird that there's like sunflower and leopard shirts, and it's too stereotypical Gen Z on the left side. So I said, can we make them more like Gen Z and millennial? This is what ChatGPT came, and this was the last iteration where I asked, can we please be more Gen Z and millennial without going too far? But anyhow, this is how you procrastinate on presentations. I spent like half an hour doing it. Please don't follow me. But because I did the effort, I thought I'll just present my art to you guys. The thing about environments, right? We were talking about environments. So in millennials slang, we had something called YOLO, you only live once. Gen Z have something similar, but it's called do it for the plot. And I love it because I think it's a bit of a better iteration of our millennial YOLO. Any of you familiar with this saying? Raise your hands if you are. Great. Like literally 2 people. So whenever Gen Z makes a decision, let's say, should I quit my job or should I move to a new country? They say, just do it for the plot. Because your life, in essence, is a book, right? And the book gets interesting when you make mistakes or when you succeed. So whatever decision you make, whether it's going to lead to a bad outcome or a good outcome, is going to be great for the plot of your story of your life. So stop stressing about making decisions, just do it for the plot. I love it. And going back to fintech and how it's impacting environments, I am working in fintech. I have banks coming to me all the time asking, Elena, how can we help? How can we acquire Gen Z? How can we be relevant towards Gen Z? And I tell them, guys, you have the Gen Z. Because most of the Gen Z actually use native banks, like the old school banks. They don't use neobanks. Like Revolut, the average age of users is 33, which is a millennial, right? And the only time they actually lose the trust in the financial institution is when they know that you have actually been investing in fossil fuels. And that's why the only reason for them to move and lose the trust in your organization, financial organization, is only for that reason. And this is a bank of tomorrow. It's completely eco-friendly, super amazing bank. And a lot of Gen Z, if they move to neobanks, they would only move to Tomorrow Bank. So if you want to check it out, go ahead. And because of this sort of environmental concern, right, and wanting to make sure that we save the environment and we do everything we can, there's a lot of huge rises in new startups that are helping recycle, right, and make sure we're making environmentally friendly choices. Just last week at Slush in Finland, this is Fercado that won the startup competition. They help you find second-hand goods online from all the kind of retailers and e-commerce stores. And then this is also a Finnish startup called Twice Commerce. And what they do is they allow you to make money by reselling your stuff and creating the entire sort of, in essence, better Shopify experience for you if you want to do that as a profession. And the last difference is that they're more hustlers than millennials. I know it's hard to admit because, I'm a millennial, so I want to say that we're better. But they are much more hustlers, right? This is a generation that survived the 2008, I mean, they didn't survive, but they saw people, suffering from the 2008 financial crisis. They're the ones who saw COVID going down. They're the ones who saw inflation go up, and then they saw everyone being fired, right? So with that, they don't have much trust in institutions like work institutions and thinking that their future financially is going to be safe. So they go into the hustle culture and make sure that they either have a side business or they actually become freelancers. If you look at the statistics over there, there's 40% of millennials who want to be freelancers versus a staggering 53% of Gen Z who want to become freelancers. And what I hope you heard from these four kind of like trends and differences between Gen Z and millennial is that there's this concept of togetherness, right? We want to buy together, we want to trust together, we want to work with other people together, and we want to save the environment together. There's an essence of togetherness. And now I'm going to start talking to you about some statistics we found when I was building my company, Chino. This concept of togetherness really struck with me because when I first did a survey and just tried to understand how often people spend together, I was shocked to know that 50% of people spend every single day and the remaining every other day. And that makes sense, actually. If you think about a young student, right, they might be going getting coffee with a friend in the morning or classmates at the university campus. They might be doing grocery shopping with their roommates because most likely they are living with someone, they can't afford living alone. And they might have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, they travel with friends, they do things together. And this has a huge repercussion on businesses because you remember in my introduction, I said that I worked at an online travel agency. I remembered that 80% of payments failed at checkout because of insufficient funds. And that makes sense. If you and your friends are trying to book an hotel for a week, for the three of you, you might not have 1,500 euros to spend out of your pocket and front for that payment for everyone, right? You might not have that. And so that's a huge loss of revenue. In the European region alone, in 1 year, 40 billion is lost because of payment failures. And then I also want to bring with this concept of togetherness cool new startups happening in Europe. This one, for example, is saying, you know what? If you want to buy the sneakers with you and your friends, instead of paying $50 for that sneakers, we will lower it to $22 each. And the reason why they're doing that is because it takes a lot of marketing, a lot of money to acquire new users. But if you're going to be bringing your friends, I will just reduce whatever I would have paid to acquire you and put that into a discount of the product that you're trying to buy. So everyone wins. There's also interesting companies like Mosaic over here in the United States. So as I said, Gen Z are hustlers, right? A lot of them are actually influencers on social media. And sometimes maybe you do a content production with Spotify and they're going to pay you $20,000 for the video, but you're actually collaborating with maybe a music guy who'll make some nice music for you and maybe another influencers to make the video even better. But then how it works is that Spotify would pay me the $20,000, and then I have to be the accountant and try to split the money amongst everyone, which is not very efficient. So they're trying to solve for this collaborative environment of working together. And now I'm going to start talking to you just a little bit about my company, right? Because the problem that we're solving is that of splitting bills. Imagine you're going on vacation with your friends. Everything is planned and you're excited, and the only thing you have to do is to actually purchase the flight tickets, right? You want to do it together so you can sit together. But unfortunately, none of you wants to be the one to front the payments. And it makes sense, because the last time that you've done it, it was a horrendous story. It took forever for everyone to settle, and you were short of 1,000 euros for 3 months. That's not a fun process for anyone to go through. And the reason being is because when you look at how we share finances, it's a horrible process. You become, in essence, a free accountant for the group. You have to remember everyone's old debts. You have to remember how and who paid for what. You have to remember how the share was split. Do you agree with the split? Make sure you don't cause a World War III in the process of reviewing how much money everyone owes. And then you have to try to collect the money. And the reason why I say try is because, let's have a raise of hands. How many of you guys have money that are owed by your friends and they have not paid you back? Wow, okay, more than half. In our statistics, we saw that 40% of people claim that they never receive their money back after lending it to their friends. So you're basically becoming a free accountant and a walking ATM. But this problem is not only for the travel industry, right? We realize that roommates who have to pay utility bills, rent, any kind of subscription, couples who are maybe moving in together need to buy furniture. We have just friends going out for drinks. This problem is holistic, right? And when I started this, before I started this company, I just said, like, come on, like there was so much innovation happening in the tech sector and in the financial sector. How come no one has done a better solution to solve this? So I went into the history and I looked at, like, okay, we have debit cards in 1966, and none of us were born at that time. Digital transfers, online banking. By the way, this was literally the first time when you could actually access your bank account through a website, but you couldn't do anything but just see how much money you have in the bank account. Then we had digital payments with PayPal, contactless cards, which we love, only 20 years ago. And let me stop here. Do you see from 1966 for 40 years, I'm not good at math, but nothing has been done in the realm of social payments. It was always a transaction between your bank account and yourself. And finally, in 2009, we have our first historical moment where fintech said we need to build something around social payments. And two things happened at that time. We have, first of all, the peer-to-peer payments apps, so maybe PayPal or any kind of transfer. So let's say if Bob owes me 30 euros, then I'm going to ask him to pay me back those 30 euros by sending a link. But it's not very successful because we just raise our hands saying that although we send links, our friends still don't pay us. And then we also had another app called Splitwise, or similar to Splitwise, which are calculator apps. Let's say I paid $10 for breakfast, you paid $20 for lunch, and you paid $40 for dinner. We need to figure out who owes how much money, right? So we manually input all of that, and then it says, okay, Elena, you owed, I don't know, $20 from Bob. And moving onwards, we have mobile wallets and neobanks, but unfortunately, nothing has been done in the realm of social payments. But that is until 2022, and so basically nothing has been done, so we've been stuck in the cycle of fronting, calculating, and reimbursing. And this basically was a story until 2022 when we founded Chino. And we introduced a new concept called Pay Together. And what is Pay Together? Let me show you. So instead of you tapping your phone to pay, video. Okay, there you go. Instead of tapping your phone to pay and fronting the money for all your friends, you tap your phone and you pay and split instantly. So the same behavior of tapping, except you're not paying for anyone but yourself while paying at the group for the same time. And let me show you how that's done. In essence, what we've done is we've connected multiple bank accounts to one card, so that the moment you make a payment, the restaurant needs 90 euros, you're tapping your phone, you're paying 90 euros, but you've only paid your share of the expense, because in real time, we're acquiring everyone's share directly from their bank accounts. To set it up, it's pretty easy, so you connect your bank account to Chino, and then you can create as many groups as you want, one with your roommates, one with your partner. The moment you create a group, we instantly issue a virtual card for all of your friends. So you can add it to Apple Pay, or you can use it to pay online with. And then any one of the group can make the payment for the group. It will instantly be paid and split in real time, so it's not a prepaid card. And you can see exactly who made the payment, where the payment was made, what was the total amount of the payment, and most importantly, your share of the expense. And last but not least, you can change the ratio split anytime you want because, things change, right? We receive every other week pictures like that from our users because, of course, this is the most seamless and simple solution and people love it. But most importantly, we've been saving relationships because if you look at what breaks your friendships or even your relationship with your partner is usually money, right? Have you paid me back? Why can't you pay me back? Are you paying for my dinner? Are you paying for my lunch? How are we splitting dates? And so forth. And we have the vision to not only do it on a consumer side, but also solve that problem that I mentioned on a business side, the 40 billion a year problem. So we want in the future to also implement it at the checkout. So you can easily split any kind of big bill together. Now, wrapping up, what I talked to you about today is that Gen Z search, trust, work, and spend together. So if you want to build anything, just remember these things moving onwards. You can always connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to talk to you more about Gen Z and payments. Thanks so much.